is, so if you're not from this area, Minneapolis is part of Hennepin County. We've been wanting to sit down with Hennepin County Sheriff Dawanna Witt, and she joins us now. So thank you for your time, Sheriff.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. So let's talk about involvement or lack of involvement here when it comes to your office, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, and your deputies. What is the involvement? Has there been response? What can you tell us?
Well, first, I think it's important for people to know that the statutory mandate for the sheriff is to keep peace within the entire county, which obviously includes the city of Minneapolis. We have been a part of just about everything that's going on, from responding to protests to responding to help calls to responding to large crowds. We have been helping not just the city of Minneapolis, but our suburban agencies as well. That's one of the things about this job, is making sure that we are there for all of our partners, all 36 law enforcement agencies within this county, and giving them whatever assistance they need.
What kind of toll has this taken, I guess, in your office? I'm wondering about morale. I'm also wondering about resources. If you're spending so much time and resources kind of, responding to these incidents.
Well, as far as morale, I can say that this has been very taxing on our deputies. I know that not just our agency, but all of us, because all law enforcement agencies are in this together, that it's affecting all of us. But then when we talk about deploying resources and being able to make sure that we have that balance of making sure that, one, we are responding to our normal calls, but also, two, planning for things that could potentially get out of hand. That is why I'm so blessed that we have really good relationships in this county. I mean, our Hennepin chiefs have absolutely been amazing. I spoke to on a meeting to our 4th district sheriffs, and knowing that the support is there if and when we need it, and we're just, it's a delicate balance, but that's what we signed up for, and we all realize that we have to be in this together in order to keep our communities safe.
Are people, sort of the general public or protesters at the scene, do you think that they understand the difference between the different law enforcement agencies? Has that been an issue?
That has been an issue. We've received emails, calls, texts from people asking if it's been Hennepin County deputies and things like that, which is why we just put on our site this last week all the different uniforms people could expect to see Hennepin County Sheriff's deputies in. But there is some confusion with who or what agency people are working for, whether it's local or federal agents. And so it's our job, though, to make sure that we clear that up and make sure that our deputies are clearly defined as Hennepin County Sheriff's Office deputies. And so we're doing that, and we've also put something out there so that our communities know exactly what to expect when they see a Hennepin County deputy.
Yeah, we know that there's this lawsuit that's going through right now through the courts. It's the state of Minnesota, city of Minneapolis, and city of St. Paul. So not necessarily represented by Hennepin County, but the ask in this is that I guess the argument is from those local entities is that there's excessive force that's being used on the ground by federal agents. What can you tell us about what you've seen, either in person, via video, that kind of thing, about what's happening out there?
Well, I know that we have seen lots of videos that are going on out there, and also just hearing accounts from our boots on the ground, and again, speaking to other sheriffs and chiefs about what's going on in their communities. So, this is where we need to be very careful, right? The stereotyping is getting ridiculous. There are some agents that have used excessive force. We do know that some racial profiling has been going on, and it needs to stop. It just needs to stop. When we think about the fact that we are here trying to build and rebuild trust in some areas, when an officer, an agent, anybody in law enforcement oversteps that threshold, we all pay the price for it. And that's not fair. It's not right. We have some of the most professional people here at the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, as well as our surrounding agencies. And so when one person, even one person, is using excessive force or treating people poorly, unfortunately, we all have to pay the price for that. We have a saying that nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. And so we need people to be professional. We need them to follow the law. We need to make sure that that they are acting within the lines and the scopes of their law enforcement duties. And if you're not going to do it for anyone else, do it for your partners in this profession. It is a noble profession, and we need people to do the job right. We need to treat people with dignity and respect. We need all the rhetoric out there from all sides of everything that's going on right now.
And I do want to ask you a little bit more about that. But before I go there, I also want to just point out, I think, people look at the videos and they say, well, but there are protesters who are also breaking the law. As a law enforcement officer, what do you want people to know about some of the things that they're seeing, that the protesters, not all protesters, we can't group all law enforcement, can't group all protesters together, right? But what are some of the egregious things that you're seeing on the protester side?
Throwing of water bottles that are frozen, causing ice balls. It's ice balls, but we've seen that too. And again, we've also seen, though, that there have been some protesters out there that have been peacefully protesting. And I think that the ones who are stepping outside of that peacefulness are getting all of the attention. We have to do a better job on focusing on the protesters out there that are doing it the right way, peacefully, just like we have to focus on the law enforcement that are out there being respectful and doing their jobs. We need to make sure that there is some kind of attention towards that. Again, this overgeneralizations that are being put out there is helping no one. And so let's bring attention to that. But, as far as when people are protesting and then it turns violent, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office will arrest you. And that's something that we've had communications with people about. It's like, we again fielded many phone calls and emails. Why did we arrest this person or for whatever reason? And we have to explain. We do explain to people. Well, this person was not arrested for being peacefully protesting. They broke the law. And we cannot afford to step away from enforcing the law. We need the laws to be enforced here. And it's very taxing. So people need to be honest again about what their behaviors are or their reactions. But let's not lose sight. If you're there protesting, I'm assuming you're there because you care about a cause. And the moment that somebody steps out of line and acting in a way that is unlawful and violent, you take away from the message that you're trying to convey. We are better than that here in Minnesota. We're better than that. So, we need to make sure that people are staying on message and not putting out or not doing things that are going to invite law enforcement to enforce the laws as we should be doing.
Can I ask you about, you mentioned the politics of this, and I think most people would agree that there's some level, depends on, where you're coming from on this. When we've got the state and we've got Minneapolis and St. Paul suing the DOJ for what they describe as excessive force. On the other side of things, we have somebody like the Borders Czar Tom Holman, who's been coming out in many interviews over the course of the last few weeks, specifically talking about Minnesota, saying, this wouldn't have happened if they would have just allowed us into the jails. I'm curious what your response to that is.
Well, I think that is absolutely false if we just let them in the jail. So now you're assuming that anybody that was not born here is a criminal. So that's just simply not true. Let us into the jails. The ask that we have for our federal government is the same that of our local authorities. If you want us to hold somebody past the time that we are supposed to legally hold them, you have to have a warrant. That's what locals have to do. That's what the federal government would have to do. What they're asking us to do is to break the law and hold people on these detentions or these immigration detention forms that are not signed by a judge. We do know when you have a warrant, it is signed by a judge, that you need the probable cause to get that signed. So as a sheriff, and I think I can speak for all sheriffs and chiefs out there, that no, we do not want people in our communities that are murdering, raping people. That's not what we want. So if we're truly about making our communities safe, just like local law enforcement have to follow the law, so do our federal partners. So again, I disagree with, okay, let us in the jails and this wouldn't happen. That's absolutely false. It makes no sense. And so I push back on that comment.
Is there a level of, and I don't know if cooperation is the right word here, collaboration, a baseline of communication that you think local law enforcement might be open to outside of, we've heard Mayor Fry say absolutely not, we've heard Governor Walz say absolutely not, but other agencies, do you feel like, it feels like we're at an impasse, right, where it's get ICE out and then the Trump administration has doubled down and continues to. At this point, it feels like something has to give, right, Sheriff?
I do feel like something has to give, but you know what? The one thing that we all have to be on the same page with is we have to do what's right. And humanity has to be the center of what we're doing. I know when I think about my moral compass, if I come out of sync with that, then who am I and why would I be in this profession? I think that people are being lost in all of the political aspects to this. Everybody needs to go back to the center and say, what is the right thing to do? And yes, there's going to have to be some collaboration, some negotiation, because it's not going to be a one side wins all. That's not going to happen. And in the process, not just adults, but our kids are seeing this, and we have to set the example for our kids. There is no reason why while everything that's happening should be affecting our kids as greatly as it is right now. We have to get people who know how to come to the table, how to talk things through, and let's make sure that we all go back to that common denominator that we have, which is we want our communities safe. But there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And we need to get people to that point where let's do it the right way. And let's make sure we're having those communications, because listening has to be a part of the conversation, right? It can't just be one side talking all the time. We have to listen, and we have to see where our common ground is so that we can move forward in keeping people safe.
And Sheriff, I'm sure you hear this a lot in the community. A lot of people are at that place where they just want resolution. People are exhausted, as I'm sure your folks are as well. Do you have hope that we'll get there and get there sooner rather than later?
I do have hope. If we don't have hope, we have nothing at all. I've been in this profession for quite some time, and never did I think that we would be in the position that we are. But what we need are people in leadership roles to come together, have those conversations. And again, let's stop with the one side has to win all. That's not where we're at. It doesn't matter, again, as far as political views, doesn't matter which side of the fence you are on. What matters is there are people, when you took that oath, when I took that oath, when any elected official has taken that oath, we agreed to represent everyone, even those that do not have the same train of thought or lived experiences or any of that. We took on the responsibility to make sure that we are here for everyone. And we need more people to come to the table and agree with that and have the conversation so that we can keep our communities safe and that we can show people that it's okay to disagree with one another. But let's be respectful. Let's remember that we all have a job to do, and let's get it done.
Sheriff, we thank you for your time today. Appreciate it. I know you all are very busy, and messaging matters. Things, the tensions, as you know, are so high on so many different levels. So thanks for making some time for us, and we hope we can talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Sheriff